Good evening, folks. Welcome back to another Monday night live stream. It feels weird after having a week off. It's nice to be back though as well. So, how is everybody? What have you been up to? What have I missed while you've been away? I mean, I did manage to get a couple of videos up last week, so it wasn't a complete kind of sort of a complete devoid of any content last week. But it was funny missing the live streams, especially after coming off the back of the kind of some big announcements from Games Workshop as well on that Saturday, and then not chatting about them on the Monday. I've kind of had a very much non-hobby week. I very intentionally didn't look at my phone very much. I didn't take any hobby stuff with me. I've tried to have some distance and have a break from it. So kind of getting back into it yesterday. I started to do some recording yesterday, and then kind of starting today to kind of set up the live stream for today. And it was like, what am I going to do it about? What am I going to talk about? It's like the stuff I probably would have talked about last week is now kind of old news a little bit. But we will touch on it, and I'll tell you some of my thoughts on the new Warcry and things like that. But I just thought, you know what it is? I'm just going to have a bit of a ramble today, a bit of a catch up, see how everybody is. It's the end of a month. See what everybody's up to. So let's have a look in the chat, see who we've got. We had a Lord Maiden in nice and early. Good evening to you, mate. Super Pumpkin Man as well says, hope you had a good vacation. I had a very nice break, mate. Yeah, it was quite chill. We didn't go very far. It was I think it was about a 3-hour drive from home. But yeah, weather was okay. Little one had a great time. So yeah, it was just nice to have a bit of a break really and get out the house for a bit. I think that was the thing that I kind of enjoyed more was I don't think I realised just how much I'd got used to just not really going anywhere. Through intentionally being locked down originally through kind of March and April and into May, and then actually now I can kind of get out a bit more. I kind of realised that I wasn't doing that, so it was nice just to get a bit of a break, a bit of a change of scenery and stuff, and spend some nice family time together where we weren't just kind of rattling about the house together. Carol saying, I wish I could get out of my house too. Must be great to travel. It was a bit of a mixed bag. We'll talk about it probably later on as well, but we're still not out of the woods yet when it comes to kind of COVID and stuff. So there were still a lot of things that we couldn't do. Wearing masks, hence the trimmed beard. After the first day of wearing the mask for quite some time, it was really irritating me with the beard. So yeah, first night I shaved my beard off. So this is like a week's growth coming back now. Peter Kuhlman, good evening to Peter. How are you doing, mate? Mark writes in as well, saying hopes everybody had a good weekend. Christopher Warden, good afternoon to you, mate. David Moffat, hello to you, Dave. How are you doing? Steve Evans is in as well. Hello, Steve. Dirk says, evening, everybody. David Mackay's in as well. Palmsy's in, saying hopes everybody's well. Good evening to you, mate. Don't forget, folks, Palmsy's magazine, 6 in the Head. His zine is available to download for free. I think it's episode 5 that's out now. Definitely worth going checking that out. Krabby, good evening to you, mate. How are you doing? Long time no speak. We need to get that game arranged soon, fella. Arnold's in as well. Says, never knew you were gone. Now back to work. Thanks, mate. Mark Coley, good evening to you, lad. Joachim says, good evening, folks. The wait is over, and tonight you don't have to hear my voice in the Discord hobby hangout. Hallelujah. How did it go, folks? Hello, by the way, Joachim. How did it go? Because I know the folks in my Patreon group in the Discord had a bit of a hobby hangout themselves last Wednesday with me not being around. So how was it? How did you find it? Was it nice to kind of hang out together? Good evening to you, Christian. How are you doing, mate? I hope you're really well. Peter says, hi peeps, glad to have you back. I'm glad to be back, mate. I'm kind of feeling today, I've been a little bit under the weather today. Just feeling a bit out of sorts, actually. A little bit kind of feeling a little bit ill, but nothing too serious. And I feel like after having a week off, I feel like my creative side hasn't fired up yet. I need to get that back. So yeah, that's what tomorrow's job is, I think. Barry's in as well. He says, hey, did you miss us? Of course I missed you, mate. Of course I missed you. John Estel says, evening all, any advice on how to get super glue off polished granite? Also, any recommendations for a large cutting mat, entirely unconnected, of course? I would imagine off granite, mate. Can you just kind of scrape it off and just repolish it again? I'm not sure, mate. I think our worktops are kind of is it travertine or something like that? I think it is, or some kind of composite stone. And what was I going to say? It's cutting mat. I think I got mine from Hobbycraft, mate. You're not too far away from me, so yeah, Hobbycraft is where I got mine, mate. Phil Tolhurst, good evening to you, mate. Busey, how are you doing? Nice to see you fellas in. Simon Morton, good evening, Simon. Super Pumpkin Man saying, here we go. Chris Dawes, hello. Ian, hello to you too. There's a few people giving them some advice there of different things he can use. Let's have a look. David Delaney says, happy Monday, everyone. Good to have you back, Andy. Hope you enjoyed the vacation. It was very nice. Thanks, mate. Yeah, and it's good to be back. Hello, Peter Stockdale as well. I just seen Arnold there. Just he's thinking, what did I say? So now everything is back to normal. Thank you very much for the donation, Arnold. Peter Stockdale says, good evening. James Hart says, good evening all. He's painting up Chewie and Bosk tonight. Nice bit of Star Wars Legion there. Christopher Warden says, worked. I don't know what worked, mate, but I'm glad to have you back. Lord Maiden says, you've been missed. Have I really? I thought you might like it to have a week off. Stu McDurdy is in as well. It says, happy bank holiday Monday. Yeah, it's a bank holiday here in the UK as well, folks, for those of you who are not in the UK. So yeah, everybody's still off work today, really, so I'm back to work, but everybody else having a day off. Dave says he painted some armour on Elfin Eagles. It was a thriller. Christian said he's had Monday to Friday all on his own and it was amazing. I can imagine, mate. It's quite nice to have a bit of a break. I can't remember the last time I spent any kind of like real time on my own. Like before, when me and my wife used to travel quite a lot, we used to get quite a bit of kind of time to ourselves, either at home or away with work and stuff. It's been quite some time since I've had any kind of time myself. Austin Thornhill says, good afternoon from LA. Go Rams. Yes, go Rams, mate. That new stadium's looking pretty fine as well, isn't it? Dave says, is England still the same? Is this the last public holiday until Christmas? Yeah, August bank holiday is the last one, mate, yeah. Busey saying, you got a good tan though from your holiday? No, there was no sun, mate. I think it's just I think it's good lighting. That's what it is. I've got like different kind of lights in here now that kind of just give a bit of a different kind of shading to the different sides. So yeah, it's not a tan, mate. I'm probably white as a sheet, to be fair. Peter says, I'm back painting 5th edition Bretonian Archers, the Bowmen of Bergerac. Anybody remember those? 5th edition fantasy, I think, was well before my time, mate. Phil says, it's interesting you talk about not taking the hobby away. On the way back from my weekend away with the wife, suggested I make a travel box up to take some minutes with me to paint. Ordinarily, mate, I would take like some board games and stuff when we went away on holiday, or I would take like a White Dwarf to read, or I would even maybe take some, like if we were going somewhere where I could have some kind of time myself, I'd maybe take some minis and things. But because this is my job now, because this is what I do like all day and night, every day and night, I intentionally decided to have a kind of switch off from it and spend some time with the family and not be on my phone all the time answering messages and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it was different this time. It was a conscious effort to have a break from work, if you like. Arnold says, building and slightly converting the Arachnarak spider for a monster game of Warcry. She's a big one. Yeah, they're big, those models, man. They're. Blizzard says he's here as well. Probably won't say much as I've got a migraine. I hope you're well, mate. Mine's been a bit of a weird stomach today. I've been feeling like just a bit off colour, but like not to the point where I have to stop doing stuff, but just I can tell I'm kind of either coming down with something or I'm not feeling myself at the minute. Christopher says, you may be some people's only access to new hobby goodness. Talk up the newness. I will do, mate. I will do. James Bray, good evening to you, mate. Hello, Tony Howell as well. How are you? Dave saying, England tight on public holidays as usual. I don't think we do too bad for public holidays, mate. Is it 6 times a year we get public holidays? 6, 7? I don't think we do too bad, really. Bit of chat going on there as well. Let me just catch up with where we're up to. Lord Maiden says, oh, sorry, let me just before I go on there. James says, did a hobby hangouts last night too, and mostly drank wine and slapped some contrast on some cokes. Deb's with in as well. Good evening, Deb. How are you doing? Lord Maiden says, I missed the hobby hangout last Wednesday due to my cat killing a badger and a barn owl with one strike. Looking to do one tomorrow. Wow, it's something I might look at, hobby hangouts, actually. I'm considering restructuring those ones. So yeah, we'll chat about that another time. Ortega says, hi all, can't stay. Hope it's a good one. Thank you very much, Ortega. Peter says, super glue dissolver or hot water? I've never tried hot water and super glue, actually, although you do wash it off your hands, I suppose. Samuel Dave says, how's it going? Can't watch this live, but I'll catch the video later. Thank you very much, mate. I hope you're well too. Tony says, the works often do cut and match cheap as well. I've never really tried the works for much stuff, to be fair. I don't know if there's one that close to me. Maybe that's why. VJ's in as well, saying good morning. Hello to you, mate. Robert Zunk's in as well. Nice to see you, mate. Lord Maiden says, I never want to miss a week of you. And Christopher Hill says, what's a bank holiday? So, Christopher, a bank holiday in the UK is like a public holiday. So, how you would maybe have like July 4th, Independence Day. I assume does everyone get the day off work for Independence Day? Is it like a public holiday? We just call them bank holidays because the bank's closed, basically. Banks are open pretty much every other day, but they call it a bank holiday, historically anyway. Barry says, my copy of Blitzball arrived from Barnes & Noble, just in time to find out Season 2 is coming out in a month or two. Yeah, it's been talked about for a little while, mate, but if you've never played before, you're not missing out on anything. Getting Season 1 will just be as good. Where was that one? I've just seen John Estel saying the contrast paint of lighting. Yeah, when I did the hobby hangout a couple of weeks ago, I'd literally kind of rejigged the room. Everything wasn't ready. All the furniture wasn't in the right place and stuff. I hadn't set the lights up. I hadn't white balanced the camera, and I looked particularly orange on that hobby hangout. But yeah, I'm getting back to a setup now again. Yeah, Dave said about what are the bank holidays there as well. Stuart Turkey said, I've just finished off Blood Angels Assault Marine Sergeant, first time painting a plasma pistol. How did it go, mate? Did you go with the blue plasma coils, or did you use something a bit different? Kieran as well says, evening all, had a week off for hobby too, breaks as good as a rest and all that. Yes, as I mentioned in my video last week about if you kind of a little bit of what was it I called it? If you got a bit of a hobby, if you're in a bit of a hobby slump, sometimes a break is as good as kind of ploughing through. Really, mine wasn't last week. Was just purely intentional to have a break really and have some time off. Corvus Games Terrain how's everyone tonight? I'm good, thanks, mate. While I remember, he sent me a message just before I came on the live stream. So Steve, who runs Corvus Games Terrain, has got a Kickstarter going live tomorrow. I'll put a link to it down in the description after this stream's gone live, and I'll also link something in the Facebook group either tonight or tomorrow. But essentially, he's doing sort of 3D printable sci-fi terrain. Would work really well for for Dead Zone, but also will work for any kind of sci-fi type stuff as well, and probably some modern day stuff as well. So yeah, I'll pop a link to that one. Look out for it. And basically, if you type in Isolation Protocol into Kickstarter tomorrow, you'll find it. So yeah, go and check it out. There's some really cool stuff in there. Where did that go before it moved? Debs is saying she's building orcs for Kill Team project tonight. Never built a mini before in my life. I never realised that, Deb. I've seen you paint some stuff, but I suppose they might have been like single piece stuff. I think were they? Yeah, interesting. Let me know how it goes. It'd be interesting to get like a kind of a complete sort of like a new person's perspective on that. Super Pumpkin Man says, I will start building my Flesh Eater Coats box today after a couple of months of waiting. GW finally sent me my box. I imagine they were pretty kind of bare bones on a lot of stock over the lockdown. So I think it's probably took me a little while to get those restocked again. Krabby saying, I'm back home now. Next couple of days, finishing off some painting and entertaining the kids. Yeah, my little one's he's off at the minute. He's obviously been off while we've been on holiday, but he goes to his new nursery actually on Thursday. So my wife's back to work in the morning. So yeah, I've got a little bit of entertaining to do alongside trying to get some work done myself as well. So yeah, I feel you there, mate. VG says, had a great time with our own little Discord hobby hangout. It was fun. Cool, mate. I'm glad. Yoakum says, for me, it was great to voice video chat a little while I'm hobbying, and it's nice to have that option to meet new people. I find the voice video chat a lot easier than the text chat. Yeah, and it's one of the things I'm kind of considering, mate, for the future. And because the hobby hangouts are great to get people motivated to come and join together and get a bit of painting done. But I appreciate if you're having to keep stopping to type something, it's not quite the same thing. So yeah, I'm looking at that for the future. But I'll chat with you a lot in the Discord chat and in the Patreon chat about that one. Super Pokemon Man says he's going to have his Dracula diorama done back for Halloween. A nice one, mate. I look forward to seeing pictures of that one. Brian Martin, good evening. Says checking in from work before he heads home. Chris Dawes saying to Debsworth, how would you go about choosing your faction? Yeah. Dave says, imagine have a holiday because you beat England in a war. I'm sure plenty of countries do, mate. Where are we up to there? Bloggy's in as well. Good evening, Bloggy. Says, hey everyone, hope your vacation was good. Thank you very much, mate. It's good to have his favourite Monday show back, though. Yeah, it's funny, kind of, you just... Like, I obviously didn't want to just leave a complete blank space in last week, so I did a couple of videos, which I grafted away to get those ones up and done. But yeah, it was weird not having the live stream, but it was a good test for the channel as well to see what difference it made, having like a normal video rather than a live stream, just to see kind of what happened. So yeah, that was interesting. There's a bit of kind of testing in the background. Stu says, yeah, blue plasma coils, contrast paint seems to work well and nice and quick. That's what you want, mate. It's just something that you're happy with and it does it fast. Dave's been painting his hobby swap item, super secret. Yes, the paint and swap that which VJ has very kindly organised in our Patreon group. Thank you very much, mate. Super Pumpkin Man says, not everyone has 4th of July off. All federal works are guaranteed off, but others... depends on where you work. I guess that's the same in the UK, mate, as well. So even on a bank holiday, things like supermarkets are still open, restaurants are still open, that kind of thing. So it's not like the whole of the UK shuts down or anything like that. But essentially, like a lot of places, basically kind of shut down for the day and stuff. And Debs is saying, yeah, everything she paints is from board games. I knew I'd seen you painting something. Steve there saying, anyone who pre-ordered the new dry brush set from Army Painter? Any online places selling it other than Army Painter? Shipping to Ireland is more than the brushes. That's not fun, is it, when they do that? Yeah, I saw Army Painter doing their own dry brush set now as well. Phil Wilkinson, good evening, mate. Says, hope all is good. I'm very well, thanks, mate. Peter says, both kids are going to school tomorrow. Yeah, I imagine there's a few people in that situation now where the kind of kids are starting to go back. Phil's in his currently painting his Scorptech Destroyer. 5 of 6 now have metal. Nice one. I did a little bit. I did some priming. Was it yesterday I did that? I think it was yesterday. Yeah, I primed all my Necrons from the Indomitor set, so they're all primed, ready for some paint now. That was the first part of like kind of actually doing some hobby for myself. Warlords of Archaeos says, I created my own completely free 3D printable game, 3D printable minis. And terrain, thought everyone should know, trying to grow the community. Yes, Warlords has sent me some information on that as well. I've not had a chance to kind of look over it properly yet, mate. We've been away on holiday, but yeah, I will check that out. Tim says, evening all, hope you're all grand. A nice break, Andy. It was pretty good, mate. Yeah, I think it's. I mean, we literally booked it a week before we went, purely because with the way things are at the minute, stuff gets cancelled. Like people like. Obviously lockdown rules are changing all the time, so we left it to the last minute to book something. But yeah, things are definitely different. It's like it's not quite the same. I don't think I'd be wanting to spend a lot of money on going on holiday at the minute while things are as they are. I think I'd rather wait until things settle down. Like having to wear like a mask for quite a lot of parts of the day, if you were inside doing stuff was quite. It just felt weird. I mean, I wear it because it's the right thing to do, but I wouldn't want to be wearing it all day, kind of thing. VJ saying, trying out a new red grass holder. Nice one, mate. Let me know what you think of it. I'm a big fan, obviously. Andrew Fairbanks says, greetings and salutations. Good evening, mate. And VJ saying, it's the first time using a proper holder that isn't a GW one. There's not really a lot out there to choose from, mate, to be fair. The red grass ones, I'm trying to think if they were around before the GW ones. Probably around the same time, to be fair, but there's not a lot of other options, really. Most people just use homemade stuff. But for the price, I think the red grass ones are good value. Steve said he spent his first bank holiday afternoon walking a local battlefield at Lansdowne with his missus. A real fun afternoon. He's now busy painting some 6mm English Civil War because models to refight it. Nice one, mate. Oh, Bacchus models. Yeah, nice one, mate. VJ saying, yeah, mini swap for the win. Dave says he's part-timer, so I work every holiday but Christmas Day unless I book it off. Yeah, I think if you, especially like when I used to work in factory work and stuff, because I used to be like a production manager and stuff, I would get the time off as management, but the guys working the shifts obviously would tend to work those shifts unless they were rostered off anyway. And the only time we ever shut the factory down was for Christmas, actually. I don't even think we did it at Easter. I think we kept going through Easter as well, but yeah, for Christmas Day and Boxing Day, and I think we shut it down for New Year's Day as well. Although sometimes we used to do kind of like overtime pay for that. Super Punker Man says he's not done a mini swap in a long time. Kirill says, good evening. Good evening, Kirill. I was just looking at your Kings of War stuff, mate. You absolutely smashed that. Well done. Christian sharing the link for the Patreon there from just $2 a month. I would encourage anybody that is kind of enjoying these live chats, enjoys the work I do, and wants to see it kind of continue in the future, because it only works if people kind of support it and make it work, because the games I cover are the lesser known games. They don't get that many views on YouTube. I don't make any money really from YouTube, from ad revenue, because it's like, you know, people there's a lot less people want to know about the lesser known games. So if you want me to keep covering the lesser known games, and you really want it to kind of to last, then supporting me through Patreon is a really good way of doing that. $2 a month makes a huge difference to me. If 100 people pay $2 a month, that $200 minus fees and everything else goes a hell of a long way to kind of paying the bills and keeping everything working. What I will say, and I'm trying to save you some money here, if you do want to join the Patreon, don't join today. Wait until tomorrow, because what will happen is if you join today, Patreon will take out your $2 or $5 or $10, whatever you pledge at, and then they'll take it out again tomorrow for the first of the month. So I would love you to join the Patreon, but don't do it now. Don't do it today. Do it tomorrow if you're thinking about it. So I'm just trying to kind of save you. I don't want you to pay for a month's worth of Patreon when there's one day left in the month. So yeah, do that tomorrow. Phil Torres says, I have some corn bloodbound minis dry and haven't been rattle canned as well. Nice one, mate. Dave Mackay says, it looks like a bit of windburn classic UK tan. Yeah, just lighting, mate. The weather was actually pretty good. The first day, the Monday, was blazing hot. It was beautiful. Tuesday, it rained a little bit in the morning, but the winds were really high. There was like sort of 50-mile-an-hour winds on the Tuesday, and a few bits and pieces were cancelled. But then the rest of the week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, was just really nice. And then it's been nice here over the weekend. I was at a friend's, their little one had a 4th birthday party yesterday, and their little one and our little one are kind of friends. So we spent some time at theirs yesterday, and we were all kind of out in the garden, kind of distanced around and stuff. But yeah, the weather was really nice. So I might have a little bit of a red face from yesterday, to be fair. I'll dive into there. William Jones says, back at ECW is beautiful. If I can just catch them with their shut up. Barry says, went to one of my local game shops this weekend. They had a few red GW paint handles left in stock. The red ones make you paint faster. Krista says, by the by, Andy, saw a picture of your wife. Boy, did she take pity on you. Probably not as much as my wife did for me. Hey, it's all about the charm, mate. That's what it is. Christopher saying, holidays, what are those? Yes. Andrew saying, Tim, yeah, red pigment requires less than coats. Kieran saying, the local gaming store is doing a painting comp. You don't paint the mini you buy, but a random draw out of a hat. But you do get the mini back when the comp is over. Can't wait to see what I have to work on. That's quite an interesting thing. John Essel says, I'll join today and get your mug earlier. There is that, mate. If you're doing it for the 6 month support for your mug or your t-shirt stuff, you would rack up a month in a day. So yeah, you could do it that way as well. Dirk says, can't afford Patreon, but if you would have a German Amazon link. Yeah, I haven't. I honestly, mate, I haven't gotten around to sorting it out yet. And to be fair, I've made about £40 from Amazon in about 2 years. Because people just don't use it, or it just doesn't track properly. To be fair, I just don't think people use it, mate. So if I set it up, even if you use it, mate, you'd have to be spending thousands and thousands of pounds before I see a penny of it. To be fair, so it's all about putting my time to best use at the minute. But I will get round to doing that at some point. Where are we up to? Tony saying the other half is a care worker, so she doesn't get bank holidays off. So I cover her to enable her to carry on. I didn't give her the clap though. I know you meant that, mate. Just the way I read it. David said, I'm curious, do you think it's worth it to get the Command Edition box set if you already have the Indomitus box? Personally, mate, unless you want one board of... Is Command the big one with the board in? Unless you want half a board and half a board's worth of terrain, personally, I don't see the value in it really. You're better off buying another Indomitus box if you're going to do that, because there's still plenty of them about. The only thing that's in that box that I'd be really keen on is the smaller rule book. But other than that, unless there's particular models in there that you want, you'd probably be better off just picking up the bits and pieces, mate. And there's some new terrain packs coming out soon, which has got 2 boards in and a board's worth of terrain. If you buy that command box, you've only really got half a board and half a board's worth of terrain if you want to play the combat patrol stuff. So it's a great starter box if you're just getting started. But if you've already bought the Indomitus box and you've already got the rules and all that kind of stuff, personally, for me, I don't see the value in it unless there is something specific in there that you want. Ian says, I appreciate what you do to support smaller games. I hope to be able to make battle reports for some lesser known games soon. Got to get the media out there to keep the games going or they fade away. It's a funny one, mate. We were chatting about it in the Patreon group today. And it's a bit of a catch-22 thing. So if as a YouTube channel or as a even as a Facebook group sometimes, that kind of stuff, if you cover the lesser known games, and I mean some obscure games, some really kind of lesser known games, you just don't get the views. There's not an audience out there for these games. Therefore, the videos don't do particularly very well. That doesn't bother me so much. The problem is that YouTube then thinks that people aren't watching your content. So then the next video you do, they don't share it out to people. They don't even share it out to your subscribers. Now, for me personally, this whole business that I'm running now is not built upon YouTube views. But that makes it also very difficult to attract new viewers. And the new viewers who want this kind of stuff to continue are the ones that hopefully then kind of convert over to Patreons. That's where it becomes difficult. If I can't get in front of people to show them this kind of stuff, then the whole thing kind of comes collapsing down as well. So it's a mix of stuff. You've got to throw some kind of mainstream stuff in there as well. Live streams are a little bit different. I can talk about kind of any amount of different stuff on live streams, and that tends not to affect the kind of like YouTube, because what we got at the minute, we've got 89 people watching this now. It doesn't really matter. Like people are coming to watch this live stream almost regardless of the content sometimes, and I mean that in the nicest possible way. It's not like I can kind of sit here for an hour and just look out the window kind of thing. But what it means is whilst I've got people watching, I can then talk about those lesser known games. But things like battle reports, reviews, unboxings, and stuff like that, you can't just do obscure stuff constantly, because you'll almost kind of kill the channel. You have to mix it in, I think, with some more mainstream stuff as well. And to be fair to the smaller companies, the ones that are just starting out and stuff, if I cover some more kind of well-known stuff as well, it does them the world of good as well, because then obviously there's more eyes on it when I do talk about their stuff. However, that doesn't make any money. I don't charge those companies anything for talking about their games. So yeah, Patreon, T-shirts, all that kind of stuff, donations like on the live stream tonight, all those things are really what will pay the bills really. But I'm still early in the process. I'm happy with how it's going. It's not at the amount I need to make it a viable business at the moment, but I'm happy with the progress at the moment. Where are we? Phil says, I think getting the pair of board set is better value than the command set. I think if you haven't got Indomitus, the command set is really good value, and you can buy the expansion box, which has another board in and more terrain as well. And I think they're probably not a bad deal. So if you need a board and you need some terrain, the command box and the command box terrain expansion are probably good value. But if you've already got Indomitus, I personally don't see the value in it. James Braces, I'm going to have to buy that new Warcry set. It's so cool looking. I'm really excited for it, mate, for a couple of reasons, really. One is I've been waiting for those 2 war bands that are in that box set to come out. I'm less kind of... I like the Scions of the Flame as a war band. I like the look of them, but they wouldn't be like an auto buy for me. Some of the aesthetics are kind of just not my personal taste. I probably would have got them at some point, but it wouldn't be kind of like I need to have them day one. But I've been looking forward to those coming out. The other one, I forget what they call, the Carnite Shadows or something like that. They look fantastic. I love them. They would be a kind of a day one buy for me if they just got released as a warband. So I was really pleased to see that come out, kind of out of left field, that we got a new starter box. But that encourages me. That tells me that there's still a big kind of like there's a big push from GW around Warcry, and I know it's been quiet a little bit lately, but that's more to do with the COVID stuff because we knew there was more warbands coming. I was really impressed to see that new starter set. So for anybody that hasn't bought a Warcry starter set already, this is a great way into the game. It's the same rules that everybody plays now. It's not like a version 2 or completely different rules, anything like that. It's exactly the same rules in there. You get 2 warbands, you get a board which is double-sided, you get terrain for both sides of the board as well. Not as much specific terrain that was in the original Warcry starter set, but certainly enough to be playing and enough to kind of to get the game up and running. But the interesting thing from this one is that there's going to be some additional rules that are included, and this is why it's called Warcry Catacombs. You're going to be able to fight like underneath the all points, like down in the dungeons and down in the catacombs, and there's going to be some rules in there for kind of breaking down walls and falling into lava and that kind of stuff. And as a game that is, it's not a highly competitive game. It's a very much narrative game. The expansion books that have come out, like Monsters and Mercenaries, are very much narrative expansions. They build extra stuff in there. They're not necessarily required to play the game. It's nice that they're kind of expanding this kind of stuff, and it gives me hope for more warbands and more expansions in the future to keep the game alive. Because personally, for me, I think, having not played any of New 9th Edition yet, personally for me, Warcry is the best game GW make. It's really thematic. It's dead simple to play. And it's fun, which is the most important thing. And I love the fact that they've brought out specific models for this game. The warbands that they've brought out are specifically kind of like sort of created for this game. It was one of the reasons that Kill Team has kind of wavered a little bit, really. I know there's a lot of stuff out there for 40k that you use in Kill Team, but having Kill Team, like sort of thematic specific kill teams, I think would have given a real injection into Kill Team, and I think they can learn a lot from that. And I think there might be a video I make at some point about like what Kill Team can learn from Warcry kind of stuff. But yeah, I know some people seem a little bit down on it. They seem to be thinking, I don't like the kind of the 2D terrain on that side, and it looks like Kill Team Arena. It's another one of them things. Personally, I don't see it like that. Kill Team Arena came out to try and be the competitive part for Kill Team, to try and simplify some of the obscure rules. For Warcry, as far as I can understand, this is completely different. It's just another way to play. It's a narrative way. You can play with these additional rules. You can play with you can ignore the additional rules and just play it like normally and put some kind of 3D terrain in there as well. For me, it's more choice. It's more ways to play. It can't be a bad thing, really, and it's all optional. It's not like they're kind of invalidating all of the rules that's gone before it. And I assume price-wise, we're going to be expecting about the same price as what the original Warcry starter set is. So, yeah, for me, mate, I'm really excited about it. Excuse me, I can't drink my throat dried out there. Yeah, I'm excited for it myself, mate. I'll definitely be buying it. Arnold saying, buy it and sell a small rulebook. David said, I did a bat rep. Oh, where's that gone? Where was it there? Oh, there it was. I did a bat rep for PZ8, a super obscure game that's also really hard to search on YouTube without seeing some strange search results. This is the thing. So when you're doing really obscure games, or especially if you're doing games that haven't even really released yet, nobody is searching for them, basically. So you need to have a channel of a certain size so that you have a subscriber base who goes, oh, what are they talking about this week, kind of thing. So then you'll get some kind of traction that way. But if you're a relatively new channel and you're doing obscure stuff, it's really hard to get traction because YouTube's not pushing your stuff out. Nobody's searching for it because the game's pretty obscure and not many people know about it. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword, really. I'm not saying don't do it because everybody starts somewhere. I started with no views and no subscribers. But if you starting out with no views, no subscribers, and a really obscure topic, it's going to be hard work, that's for sure. Super Pumpkin Man says, crud, we forgot to get Andy to dance. Yes, maybe one day, mate. Ian says, well, just to let you know, I found you through the Kings of War Slow Grow Facebook group, joined entirely by accident, and then found your YouTube channel. Yeah, that's all kind of... So what I want to kind of say as well is that what I do, like for this, the whole BlackJack Legacy thing, it's not just YouTube. It's all of the community stuff. It's the slow grow campaigns. It's the Patreon group and the chat in there. It's the competitions. It's bringing people together. It's trying to encourage new people. It's trying to kind of promote positivity and bucking the trend a little bit. There's too much negativity on YouTube because negativity and like kind of like drama grabs views. People love to kind of jump on the latest kind of drama wagon. I tend not to do that. I unless I feel really strongly about it, but I don't do it just for the views kind of thing. So all of those things make what I do slightly different. They also make it harder to kind of to get those views in the first place. But I know that. I know I'm sacrificing views for that. But it's my own kind of integrity and stuff. So yeah, so what I do isn't just the YouTube channel, which is why I don't really consider myself a YouTuber really. It's more about the whole community type thing. It's about the entire gaming thing. It's about the slow grow campaign stuff and all of those bits and pieces together as well. And if I can't do this full time in the future, once my savings have run out, if you like, if I'm not making enough to make this work, all of those things kind of fall by the wayside as well. So it won't just be kind of I'll stop making videos or something. It would be everything really in the future. All those things. Arnold says a bit more Warcry would not hurt. Yeah, and I've been looking at that, mate. I mean, I've been chatting in the Patreon group. I've been doing a bit of work in here. You won't really notice from what's on camera. You won't really see a difference. But this room is completely different now from where it was, and it's setting it up so I can do some more kind of gameplay videos, some battle report type stuff. And like it's set up to be much more accessible to do that. So I'll do a bit of a kind of a studio tour video in the future. But I've got a painting area all set up over there now, which I used to sit and paint here. So my painting area is all set up over there now, much more organised. This is all set up to get like cameras around the table and things. So I've been working on all that stuff in the background. But yeah, Warcry is a perfect game to be kind of working on. Smaller board size, quick play. I know the rules inside out. I can kind of blast those kind of stuff out. So yeah, there'll definitely be more Warcry stuff coming up. Flip Movie Maker's in. Good evening, mate. How are you doing? Peter says, in all honesty, and I've said this before, I think even if the topic doesn't interest me, I come in anyway for the gaming banter. You don't get much of that at home. I think especially at the minute, mate, it's kind of like you're not really getting out and about and stuff. And unfortunately, it's like some groups on Facebook and things like that tend to be very reactionary. They tend to focus on negativity. They tend to focus on sort of people bashing stuff. And I'm trying to get away from all that. This for me is like I don't want to be basically surrounding myself in negative stuff all day every day just to get a few more views and a few more clicks. I'd much rather talk about the positive stuff. So yeah, I like that kind of stuff, mate. What it seems to do is it seems to attract a positive crowd. So we always seem to have like a positive community, really. I mean, people don't have to like everything. We're not like kind of like fanboys for stuff, but you get lots of different views. We can have deep discussions and not always agree on stuff, but it always comes from a positive standpoint, if you like. Lord Mins, I watch and listen to you because not only do you say about lesser-known games, you talk about subjects that are both interesting and informative. You're a good person. Thank you very much, man. It's very kind of you. It's quite sometimes a bit sometimes a bit hard to take praise like that, but yeah, I just try to mix it up, mate. If it interests me, I kind of figure it'll interest somebody else as well, and that's always how I've done it, really. Peter says, don't think I've missed a live stream since the Dead Zone one. I think I've missed. Obviously, I've been to every live stream, but I think I've actually had missed a live stream probably only about 2 or 3 times, like for holidays. In God, how long? Probably about 2.5, 3 years. I've probably only missed 2 or 3 Mondays, and they've all been for holidays when I've been away and I haven't been able to kind of get and do the live stream itself. Corvus Games Terrain says, yeah, the Warcry new starter looks mint. Definitely ordering that. Yeah, it's a definite buy for me, mate. Tony said, I think I said something similar in Discord. I love the diversity, but appreciate that sometimes a bit of mainstream. Yes, it has jumped off my screen. Where did it go? Sometimes a bit of mainstream is needed too. As long as we remain our chill group, I'm happy. Yeah, it's a mix of stuff. I don't want it. I'll never become a channel that just talks about one game kind of thing. But it doesn't mean I'm going to ignore the big games as well because they interest me. So there'll always be a mix of stuff in there. Christian said you can get a T-shirt like the one Andy is wearing and help support the channel. Yes, these are the latest designs. Which reminds me, Christian, I owe you T-shirts. I haven't forgotten, but I've been working on a design for your Patreon T-shirt, mate, that I'm not happy with. So I haven't forgotten, mate, but I know I owe you a T-shirt. Kirill is saying, well, I feel it's a time of Warcry is coming for me. I love Warcry, mate. I will always kind of speak highly of Warcry. If you're into mega competitive gaming, I don't think it's the game for you. But if you just like something that you kind of wait, it's not a brain burn to learn the rules. There's a lot of tactics in there. It plays really fast. It's a small table space, and GW minis are frankly really nice as well. And by now you can use pretty much most of the minis in the AOS range now, give or take. Some of the bigger ones you can't. But yeah, there's a good mix of stuff. I love the game. VG says, breaking down walls in Warcry. Where did you hear that? Do you have a pre-release copy you can't talk about? I heard it made from the game's designer himself on Twitter. He was talking about it. Sam Pearson. So after the announcement, he mentioned something on Twitter about all of the different stuff and that as well. So yeah, sounds pretty cool, mate. Andrew Fairbanks is hoping there's some good rules for setting up some catacombs in Warcry, because if it's just the one terrain mat, I'm going to be a little disappointed. It's going to be the one terrain mat to start with, mate, but I've no doubt what they'll do is they'll bring out extra bits and pieces, like extra terrain packs and stuff like that as well. I mean, if you've seen the one in their design, in their main photograph type stuff, the stepped kind of platforms from the Shattered Storm Vault terrain, it looks like they're using something like that or something very similar to that, with like a bridge across the top which goes across like a river of lava and stuff. So I think there's more to it. I think what we're seeing is basically the starter box, if you like, with some scatter terrain and stuff with doors, and if you look carefully, you can see there are walls marked out on the board. So very much like how Necromunda was in the original starter box, very much like how Kill Team Arena was. So I think there's going to be a mix of rules in there, but I don't think it's going to be limited to just that. I think I think we'll probably see more stuff coming for it. VG says they did have specific kill teams. They used existing models, but they were named and box kill teams. They didn't really, mate. What they did was they had starter stuff. So if I bought a few of them, so I know the things you mean, but you couldn't build a full kill team out of those. There was a few existing models in a box with a few terrain pieces, and it gave you some tokens and a little bit of kind of background about them, but they weren't full kill teams. You couldn't buy one of those boxes and then play a game with it. You still had to buy more to add to it. And I think essentially what they were giving you a few minis and shifting a load of terrain at the same time as well. And completely different to Warcry, which Warcry's kind of followed more along the line of Necromunda, or more along the line of Blood Bowl, where there is a team, a playable team or a playable warband in a box. And that's what Kill Team needed. It needed some different sculpts, something a little bit different, but to be able to buy a box of minis and play with that box of minis. All of the specific Warcry warbands that have come out have all been, you've all been able to make 1,000 points out of them. Even the Kill Team starter box with the Genestealer cult and the Admech in it didn't even have 2 full teams in that starter box. Both of the Warcry starter boxes will have had those in, and all of the Warcry kind of individual warband boxes have all had 1,000 points of models in as well. Glenn says, Andy, what are your thoughts on the long-term impact of stores not being able to let people meet to play games? When's it all going to end and people can meet again for casual games? Hello, Glenn, by the way. I hope you're well, mate. I think it's a bit of a mixed bag, mate. I mean, some stores are open now. There's quite a few stores, even here local to me, as long as you kind of follow distancing rules and stuff. So they're starting to gradually open. I think what's really kind of it's hurt some games more than others. So if you play a game like Star Wars X-Wing, that game relies upon people getting face to face and playing competitive games. This will have really, really damaged X-Wing and the X-Wing community. Hopefully, when they start to get together again, they rally around that game again, and I hope they haven't kind of wandered away from it, if you like. Games like 40k, AOS, that kind of stuff, the main GW stuff, and I touched upon this a couple of Mondays ago when I was talking about competitive games. They're a hobby company. The vast majority of their business is people buying models, proven by the fact that even through coronavirus lockdown and when they shut down, they did some fantastic business selling model kits. So it's something I want to talk about in a few weeks' time. I didn't really have time to research it for today because it was almost going to be tonight's topic. But I think, and it needs research because I need to have some facts about it, but I think you'd be surprised how few people are actually playing with the minis they buy. I think people like the idea of playing loads of games with their minis, but I think people are generally collectors, they're painters, they're hobbyists. There are some people who obviously play a lot of games and stuff, but I think it's not as big a part as we think it is. I think we just assume everybody buys minis and then plays loads and loads of games, but I think the vast majority of people are not like massive gamers, and I would love to know what you think. Like how many of you like before lockdown, realistically, and being honestly, how many of you were playing more than one game a month? Because I think local local game stores obviously kind of rely upon those people coming in and picking up purchases and buying stuff, but I think that's just a small portion of the people that buy miniatures, if you like. So I think companies are going to go on and probably be fine, but I think certain games which are very much competitive focused will take a bit of a bashing from kind of not being able to play face to face. But yeah, I don't think it's going to be as bad as we think it is. It's impacted me. I mean, it took the wind out of my sails a bit with my Kings of War army, to be fair. Doing my slow growth thing, because I was looking forward to playing that. Like as my points levels built up, I was looking forward to getting it to the table, and it did kind of take the wind out of the sails a little bit for me with that one, because I knew I was never going to get a game of it at home. Whether smaller stuff like Warcry, like things like God Tier, which I've been playing a lot of recently for a review, they're just easy to play with non-gamers, and there's a lot less commitment to the hobby side of it as well. So I think it will affect them, but I think we're starting to see it. And how long will it go on? It could all change tomorrow, mate. It all depends on what happens. I mean, from a UK perspective, if the R rate goes up beyond 1, we'll start to see lockdowns again, and things like hobby stores and people playing across the table from each other will be one of the first things to kind of to shut down, because they want to keep restaurants open, they'll want to keep big business open, they'll want to keep schools open. So I can see things like hobby stores and stuff. That kind of stuff will be some of the first things to go. VJ said, I'm not too excited about the Catacombs, but different strokes. I'm sure some people will dig it. I prefer more verticality in skirmish games. It's just another way to play, mate. Like, I know you're saying about verticality, but if you look at the boxes, I think there are not a lot of games that play on multiple heights. For instance, like a lot of kind of games of 40k are people just hiding behind buildings. They might as well be a line on the board. They just look nice. And I think when you're saying verticality, I think really what most people are thinking of is they just like to see bigger terrain pieces. If you look at, say, Kings of War, for example, it's pretty flat. You play it pretty flat. If you see games of AOS, they're pretty flat, really, but they have big terrain pieces. And actually, if you look at some of the Warcry terrain, so the like, I forget what it's called now, but the mausoleum one, the kind of like the cemetery board, whilst it had lots of kind of big pieces of terrain, you couldn't stand on them, you couldn't climb on them. You could maybe climb a little bit up the side and fall off, but essentially they were just line of sight blocking. If you look at the Shattered Storm Vault, which is the ones with the kind of the steps and the platforms and stuff. None of those kind of stepped pieces were higher than 3 inches, so it essentially almost played like a flat piece. It's more about the visual aspect of having big pieces of terrain, and there's no reason why you can't do that in the Catacomb stuff. We haven't seen the rules yet. We don't like kind of know the full extent of it, but I can assume that even within a 3-dimensional kind of board, you can still play those Catacomb rules. It's just a different way to play it, where it's playing it almost as if it's in little like narrow corridors and stuff like that. I think it'll be really interesting to play it. But you can ignore that. It's just nice to see there's another starter box coming to get more people into it, because not having a starter box available, I think, puts a lot of people off. David Delaney says, my God, I've been playing Warcry for the better part of this year. I went back and taught my best friend how to play Kill Team and forgot how much more overly complex it is. I really hope Kill Team 2 takes notes from Warcry. I don't think we're going to get a Kill Team 2, mate. I think Kill Team is Kill Team, and it's. I think the focus for GW will be more upon the entry level into 40k and combat patrol size games. I don't. They won't kill it off, but I can't see them investing much in it as a game, unless they decide to do something completely different. But yeah, it's not that complex a game. In fairness, there's just a lot more dice rolls. There's a lot more loops. There's a lot more kind of rules to remember, if you like, and reference. David says, sounds a bit like Frostgrave on their expansions. Just picked up the 2nd edition Wizard with Cronies. I'm not that familiar with Frostgrave, mate. Joachim says, I think the new Warcry starter set is a smart way to attract both old and new players. It's something for both in that box. Yeah, I agree with that, mate. Having those, I mean, if you think, let's just say, I can't remember how much the original one cost. I want to say about £95. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I seem to remember it was less than £100. If it's less than £100 again, you're getting 2 warbands in there. Those warbands are £30 each at retail, so they're £60. So you for an extra £35, you're getting an extra board, you're getting more terrain, you're getting a rule book, which you can always it's got some new rules in it, so you want to hang on to it, but you could always pass on your other rule book to kind of somebody else or something. For me, I think it's good value, whether you're an existing player or whether you're completely new to Warcry. David saying, we get a new 40k game that plays more like Warcry. What I would say is, if you check out Red Rose Wargaming, they basically converted the Warcry rules to use 40k models at the weekend and did a battle report for it, and it was awesome. Please go and check that out if you're interested in that kind of thing. So, like, it's very easily kind of converted to do that for yourself anyway. Tiberius Wallace, good evening, mate. He says, best to go general interest in a set hobby on YouTube. Best to go general interest in a set hobby. It's not actually, mate. YouTube is really weird like that. You're far better off niching down to a very, very specific kind of thing. So if you only make battle reports for 40k, you would probably do better as a channel than if you talked about the lore and you did battle reports and you did some how to paint stuff and you did some live streams. You'd be surprised the way YouTube does it. Is it really because basically people can watch whatever channel they want. They kind of cherry pick themselves, so they go right for 40k battle reports. That's the channel I watch, kind of thing. And if they do anything that's not a 40k battle report, people generally, and I'm talking like you might not do that, and I might not do that, but most people won't watch the other stuff they do. So from a YouTube point of view, if you're trying to be really successful on YouTube, niche down as far as you can. It needs to be a big enough topic that there are enough viewers. So don't niche down on like, I'm only going to do videos on just one particular kind of orc model, if you like. Don't niche down that far. But yeah, if you niche it into one particular thing and you just hammer that again and again and again and again and again, yeah, that's how you grow faster. Even if you look at channels like Eric Beer, 40k, he's been making videos about just Necrons, and he's just passed 20,000 subscribers. Like that, even that for me, I think is niching down a little bit too far. He's getting a bit of a boost recently with the new Necron release, but it's great to see him kind of like doing well in that. But yeah, keeping the topic pretty specific actually works a lot better on YouTube. Where are we up to here? Andrew Fairbanks says, need to get Andy to sing Sonoras my way. You don't want to hear me singing, mate, that's for sure. Anna's just donated. Thank you very much, Anna. I didn't even know you were in the chat there. Says, just donated £2 through the super chat. I'll send the rest of the bribe later. Thank you very much. Please, folks, go and check it out. It's really cool just to see people doing something a little bit different. Everyone knows that you don't have to play the rules as they're written. It's all about having fun. It's just great to see somebody doing that on YouTube as well and showing people that. Where was that one? If I can go back to where Tiberius was there, because that's just jumped down quite a lot. I don't even know where we're up to now. I'll just dive in here now. Tony Cine steers away from draw. Oh, that was it. William says 500% on the negativity and drama in gaming. If it isn't about the game, I don't want to hear it. Yeah, I mean, sometimes I'll talk about it if it's if it's kind of specific. If I've got like a really strong opinion on it or something, but generally I kind of skim over that stuff. I leave that to other channels. The people that basically something happens, they jump in front of a camera, they make a video about it. They haven't even had time to kind of absorb what's happening or to research it or to understand why it's happened. They just want to be first and just jump on the negativity. There are channels that do that and they do really well, unfortunately, as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, such is YouTube. Tony says, stay away from the drama. Superpunker Man says, I do not have a Facebook just to avoid drama because people like dragging me into the middle of things I have no business to be in. Mark Bericlaw says, aye, how's everyone? Hello, Mark, how are you? Oliver Bites says, I stumbled across your channel because of your how to build terrain the right way video. Save me with that one. Thank you very much, Oliver Bright. I think a few people kind of picked up on that one. Unfortunately, those kind of videos are once in a blue moon type stuff, really. The kind of thing where I don't think they're going to do very well, and you realise that they help loads of people out. Superpunker Man says, this group is good because of the positivity. Good work, Andy, and everyone else. Yeah, and I don't really censor anybody. It's not like I kind of cut out any negativity. I encourage people to be positive, and if you're going to be negative about something, be constructive. Like I don't like everything, and I will give negative opinions and stuff, but it's not just kind of bashing a game because I'm sour that it's not as popular as I want it to be, or something like that, or it's more popular than the game I love, kind of thing. James is saying no problem with the mainstream stuff if you enjoy it. Warcry is a perfect example. Yeah, I think so, mate. Christian says, no worries, I'm a patient person. You're more than patient, mate, you're an angel. Lord Maiden says, doesn't want drama either. If you did, I watch the soaps like Neighbours. Phil says, if you're getting into Warcry, come join us in the Patreon group as we have a whole chat going on about it. Yes, mate. VG says, oh, on Twitter, that's why I missed it. That's why an open sewer I look at. See, I don't find Twitter to be an open sewer because I only follow certain people. So therefore, the people that I follow tend to not be the kind of like the drama type stuff. So I follow people like Sam, who works for GW, who'll post about like Warcry news and bits and pieces like that. I'll maybe follow some other channels and stuff like that, people I'm friends with and stuff. So yeah, I don't just tend to have it like open. And if I follow somebody that comments like negative stuff on other people's posts, I tend to kind of unfollow them if it's something I'm not really interested in. So I think if you just dive in headlong into Twitter, I don't really understand Twitter, if I'm honest. Like I don't have a lot of followers on Twitter or anything like that. I share stuff on there and things, and I'll chat to people, but I don't really understand. I'm sure if I knew what I was doing, I could probably get more followers and stuff, but it's not. I don't really understand it. So I use it as a source of research, really, for me. Like that's where I see companies are talking about a new thing they're releasing, or people that I respect and follow for what they do. I'll kind of get the news from them that way, really. Superpunker Man says, I think I should make a Darkest Dungeon Warcry terrain. Darkest Dungeon, isn't that coming? Isn't somebody making a Darkest Dungeon? Tony said, if I want to draw my buy minis and build it. Tim says he's keeping his eye on a Darkest Dungeon Kickstarter. I thought that was there. Phil says his local gaming store has gaming going on already. Yeah, my local one has as well, mate. People have to wear masks and stuff like that. Bit of chat there. Super Pokemon Monster, I think Gene Stealer Cult Killer Morph was the only unique character in Kill Team. I don't think there's been any unique characters in Kill Team, mate. It must have been made for something else. The only thing that was different, I think, was the Rogue Trader box was new models, but most stuff. So what happens when they release things for Blackstone Fortress or they release things for 40k? They tend to end up getting some rules, but then them rules end up in White Dwarf. It just makes it a bit of a mess, really. That's all. Ed Hanley says there's been loads of Tabletop Simulator X-Wing events over lockdown and in person. Yeah, and that's the only thing that's been keeping it going, mate, but it's still not the same thing, is it? And I would imagine the vast majority of people who play X-Wing won't have been playing on Tabletop Simulator unless they're massive competitive gamers. And the worry is actually that because that becomes more accessible, people don't even wait for Fantasy Flight Games to kind of like to get their... Because they're not kind of famous. Sorry, they are famous for not really getting enough stock. So the worry is that people care less about the actual physical tournaments and don't even buy the products anymore, and they just go and play online with Tabletop Simulator. David says I buy GW minis to play, but not usually GW games. Yeah, but there you go. You're still buying their minis, aren't you? Lord Baden says, I was playing at least once a week. I think so. Don't get me wrong, some people will have been playing 2 or 3 times a week, but I think the bigger proportion of people who consider themselves kind of gamers or hobbyists or painters or whatever you call it, don't play nearly as many games as you think people do. Phil says, I was playing X-Wing every Tuesday. I intend to get back to that. And he plays Conflict 47 fairly regular. Ian says he plays 2 or 4 games a month. David McKay says, night all, good night, mate. 2 of his friends have huge numbers of Warhammer minis from every army and fully built and painted, but never play. That's kind of my point, mate. I think that is a much bigger proportion. Even people who say they play games, I think sometimes overestimate how often they actually play stuff. William Jones says, I saw Cold War setup, was so jealous of. Just different coloured plastic. I was consumed with envy. Most of it all out of print. Glenn says, to touch on that point about more people buying models to hobby instead of play, look at the AOS launch. Hardly any rules. The old GW CEO had to leave after that assumption. No, I disagree, mate. That's because the rules have not changed for AOS. The rules have not changed. What changed was the points values. And the old CEO left way before Warcry came, way before AOS came out, mate. It's definitely a higher proportion. Like GW they're still a miniatures company. They might care more about the rules now than they used to, but they care less about the rules than they do the minis. GW will create the miniature and then will write the rules to match how the miniature looks. Most other companies will write the rules and then try and sculpt miniatures to kind of fit the rules. And GW do it the other way around because they obviously make some money selling books, but they make the vast majority of their money from selling miniatures. And I kind of went into that in the competitive thing a couple of weeks ago. It's probably a bigger issue than you think, actually. Peter says the Warcry stuff never really grabbed me. I always get stuck on the silly names in the models. The names don't bother me, mate. I don't even remember half the names. So the name I couldn't even tell you. Good evening, Anna. How are you doing now? I'm getting to the point where you came in now. Tony says it's common misconception that I play games no matter how many times I've stated my stance. I find it interesting that people just don't get it. I'm fine with it, but love hobbying. I play a lot less games, I think, than people realise as well, mate. I mean, when I was working sort of full time, I was away a lot and stuff. Couldn't get to a gaming group. Even now through the lockdown and stuff, like I'm not really playing any games or hardly any games. The stuff I'm playing at the minute is I'm almost having to like twist people's arms to play games so I can review stuff. So it's not I'm not playing like the amount of games that I want to. I intend to change that like by getting people to come and play games with me. But obviously the COVID stuff's really put a bit of a spanner in the works on that one. Ted Williams there saying, speaking as a 40k gamer, I'm lucky if I get 12 games a year. So far, I've not been able to try 9th at all. Hello, Ted, by the way. I think that's quite common, mate. I think that's quite common. Kirill saying, what do you think about AOS miniatures in Warcry and the intersections between that games? initially I wasn't overly keen on it. I wanted Warcry to kind of stay its own game separate from AOS. But at the end of the day, more minis, more choice, more options really is never a bad thing. I think there's some balance issues between them. There's a lot more ranged shooting in the AOS stuff. There's obviously flying and stuff in the AOS stuff over the Warcry stuff. But essentially for me, that doesn't really change anything. I still think it's a really good game. If you're playing with friends, you kind of agree what that kind of stuff in advance. You might play AOS armies against the AOS armies, or you might sort of certain missions will favour certain kind of certain armies as well. So you might choose, we won't play that one, we'll play a different one. For me, it's very much a narrative game, and actually it's not always about winning and losing. It's just about having a bit of fun. So whilst it's not the most balanced of games, I don't think it was ever set out to be that balanced, really. But I would agree there's definitely a bit of a big difference. But I think that's purely because the models that came from AOS had to kind of operate almost in a similar way that they do in AOS. And I think that's kind of created a bit of imbalance. I think the Stormcast, when they first came out for Warcry, I think they were, if I remember right, they might have been the first ones to have any ranged combat with them, which really kind of changed things up. People used to run the kind of the Griff Hounds, high numbers of Griff Hounds, to kind of like as cheap points, and then the ranged guys basically, and they would run the Griff Hounds out, tie people up, and then ping them off the board, because you can shoot into combat. There's no penalties for that in Warcry, and just ping them off with the range shooting and stuff. But that's when the amount of terrain that you have on the table is important. The missions that you're playing are important. So yeah, as long as you're kind of playing for the narrative things, it's not too bad. But yeah, I agree. I'd rather they kept them out initially. Now they're in there. It's just more choice, basically. Lord Maiden's having a chat with Glenn there. Peter says, truth be told, kill... Well, that one didn't have jump there. Let me find that one now. Truth be told, Kill Team expands itself, really. They just need to make sure anything new from 40k gets integrated. The problem is with it, mate, is it's not... like, it's not obvious, that kind of stuff, and the rules that come out from anything new end up going in like a White Dwarf episode, like an issue of White Dwarf, and they get lost a bit. I mean, they get amalgamated in an annual at the end of the year, but they don't. You can't use everything from Kill Team in 40k. So you can't use everything from 40k in Kill Team, and it's in the way they've built Kill Team is only the weapons that come with those particular sprues is what can be used. I think what Kill Team needed was it needed its own kind of packaged stuff, the same way Warcry did. Bit of chat there. Covers Games Train says, gotta go lads, my machine can't run YouTube and create 3D renders at the same time. Take care, mate. David Moffat says, if I Am a Wargamer has taught me anything, it's that historical wargamers are pretty supportive of the YouTubers that support it. Yeah, historical stuff I think is probably different. They probably kind of, but I think they're almost like a niche within themselves as well. Andrew Fairbanks says, so can someone explain the love for general battle reports? I find them the most boring content. To be fair, mate, I tend to find them quite dull as well in general. It's more about the people that are playing for me. If I'm entertained by the players, the game's almost secondary. If I'm trying to learn the rules for a game, they can be useful. But I'm not like... I'd rather sit and watch somebody paint a model than sit and watch somebody play. However, that everyone's different, and there are enough people... Battle reports get enough views that even for me, it's worth kind of having a look at it and seeing how I can incorporate it into the content I make. James Bray says, took me almost an hour to build one Nighthaunt Spirit Host. My brain couldn't work out how it went together. Yeah, at least you get instructions with GW stuff. Tiberius is saying, I'm banned from Twitter. That's how terrible I can be. You've been banned from Facebook, mate. You must just go looking for drama. Lord Maiden says, I got Andy to say, neighbours, mission complete. James Bray says, another benefit to being on Patreon, Phil hooked me up with some spare Nighthaunts to fill out the warband. Yeah, we've got a nice little bunch of going on there now. Super Pokemon says the Nighthawk are awesome to look at, but can be such a pain to build. Some of those models are so fragile. I think a lot of the GW stuff now looks fragile, but actually isn't in practice. There's a lot of flex in it. I think the new Necron stuff is a good example of that. Some of the stuff that looks like it would snap looking at it actually is quite robust. Phil says, I've always wondered how much GW make from Black Library. I should look at their results. I don't think they break it down, mate, that much. But I think Black Library is. It's their own publishing arm basically. They don't kind of get somebody else to publish the books for them. I'm sure it makes enough money that it's self-sustaining. But I think there's an element of it's the wider business sense of people getting hooked into the lore and the background and everything else. But it's catch-22 again. Other companies have tried to release books and stories for their games, and the audience just, if all people say, oh, you need to build the lore out, as soon as somebody does that and releases a book, they kind of hardly sell anything. And I think even if you look at games like Marvel Crisis Protocol, games like Star Wars Legion, there's a huge amount of kind of lore and background out there already, and those games don't kind of like take over the world, if you like. They don't like challenge 40k. There's more to it. There's kind of like there's a secret sauce somewhere, and it's almost a combination of getting all of the things, like pulling all the right levers at the right times. Because you would think the popularity of how kind of Marvel's been in kind of mainstream media, bringing out a Marvel miniatures game would be an absolutely kind of like slam dunk. And people are telling me now that the new miniatures are fantastic. There was maybe the initial ones there was some issues with, but the new ones are absolutely beautiful. And I just think that like a license and the background lore on its own isn't enough. There's more to it. And I think GW just seem to have kind of like have found the magic kind of ingredients, if you like. Everybody else seems to struggle to kind of compete with that kind of stuff. Super Punk Man says, yeah, when X-Wing 2nd edition came out, it took a couple of weeks or even a month or two for my game store to get anything. Fantasy Flight are awful when it comes to stock levels and stuff, mate. James says, I got 2,000 points in Necrons, 2 kill teams, 3 war bands, Blackstone Fortress, 3 rule books and some codices. I've had about 9 games of Warcry. Would love to play more, but kids work at limited time. I think that kind of proves my point, mate. That's kind of what I'm saying, really, is that I think we think people play more games than they do. Lord Maiden says about the AOS rules, they were different at the start. It wasn't just point values, it was the added rules of seeing yourself in the mirror gave you rerolls. There was some kind of like some stupid stuff in there, like you got stuff if you barked like a dog or whatever it was. Yeah, I remember those ones being in there, but very quickly I almost feel they were in there to kind of grab some headlines and some attention. It was almost like free marketing, I think, because very quickly they were just like, they were there for a bit of fun, I think. So I think they were you can almost ignore that stuff. Glenn saying, just on that player versus hobby point again, GW apparently did surveys before AOS launched and determined that most people were hobbyists, not gamers, hence 6 pages of rules. Yeah, and to be fair, the rules for AOS are still not that long. What they always did was they kept the basic rules pretty slim, and then most of the rules are on the cards. They're on the war scrolls, they're in the battle tomes. So it's like I think it's about keeping the core rules relatively slimmed down. Even 40k, to be fair, if you look at 40k's rules, they're not that long. Like the core rules that are free to download are pretty much the bulk of the rules. There's not much else that's missing from that, and there's not a lot of pages to that. The core rules are pretty straightforward, and they learned a lot of that from AOS. Where the complexity comes in is that each codex has got extra rules for those armies. Each model has its own rules, and that's where it starts to kind of grow extra bits and pieces. Glenn saying, no points. There was a big demand for gamers, and they made the General's Handbook with points. The points thing, I agree with. It was a strange move. I know why they did it, because they were very carefully not making a competitive game. They didn't want it to be competitive. They wanted it to be just fun. But I think the problem is that they did that at a time when they killed off quite a high profile game, regardless of whether it was profitable or not. And I think it was like they basically saw people were making compacts for giving them points anyway. And I think they realised actually if we want people to to kind of pick this up. We need people are not quite ready to play without points. There are a lot of other games that don't have points, but we just don't realise it. So Guild Ball is a prime example of a game that didn't have points. You basically picked 6 players for your team or whatever. So there are games out there like not Warcry, sorry. Underworld doesn't have any points. So there are games out there now. It's more commonplace than you think. But at the time, it was a very, very strange. People just weren't ready for it, I think. Mark says, I would love to travel up later on in the year and play some games. I tell you what, mate, once lockdown stuff gets a bit easier and that, I'd love to play more games with people, mate. Tiberius is saying, I skirted the flirtation with AOS the other week until the folk on the Discord group conversed me into realising I just liked, where was that one? I just liked the Warcry releases. Yeah, AOS is still a good game. I liked AOS when I was playing it. It basically was just the group I played with were very competitive gamers, and if I wanted to kind of keep up with that, I needed to keep up with that competitive side, and I didn't want to. That was what burned it for me, basically. Phil says Kill Team needs a 2.0. I think it's definitely ready for a refresh. I would agree with that. Ian says battle reports are my substitute for playing if I can't play myself. I think maybe that's probably one of the reasons why they're so popular on YouTube, mate. Is that actually people think that they're going to play loads of games, but actually, like playing a game of 40k or something is quite a commitment. Really, you need to have built and painted, or you need to have built an army. You need to do your list building. You need to set aside maybe 3 or 4 hours for a game. And if you've got kids and family and full-time jobs and stuff, that's not always that possible. Where actually, if you kind of live your gaming through watching battle reports and watching a battle report, you go, oh, that army looks nice. That's what I'll paint, kind of thing. I think there's definitely an element of like sort of living vicariously through that stuff. Phil says, isn't Marvel Crisis Protocol really bloody expensive? I don't think it's expensive, mate, in general, but it's not. I don't think it's that much more expensive than most other games. If you need less models for it, for example, like some of the models are like 30 quid. Don't get me wrong. I think that's expensive for a single model. But that single model might be a Hulk model, which is much bigger. It's not, I don't think it's a cheap game, but then you don't need a lot of models. So I think it kind of evens itself out a little bit. From an overall cost point of view, you might not think it's good value, but I would imagine the spend that you need to play, say, 40k at 500 points is probably still more expensive than the spend you need to play a game of Marvel. Tony said, I know I get ripped to shreds, but those GW weeks when it's primarily Black Library releases, I get a sinking feeling. But you know my view on the fiction based on a game. Yeah, I tend not to read a lot of the Black Library stuff, mate, either, to be fair. Peter Kuhlman says, Marvel, loads of guys I know who love that have stopped watching the movies, really. They've had too much over the years. People are getting sick of it around me. Yeah, and I get that as well, but there are, if you look at how popular the Marvel movies are, like, even if people are getting tired of it, they're still raking in hundreds of millions of dollars. And I think like that there's still a big enough audience out there, maybe first-time gamers who would ordinarily pick that kind of stuff up. And I think it's just that's not enough anymore. There's too much choice out there. I think that's just not enough. James is saying GW owe much to the Black Library. I worked at a school for years and half the fiction section ended up being Black Library due to demand. Like 80s and 90s cartoons were adverts for toys. Yeah, I've never really been that interested in it, mate, personally, but I know like plenty of people are, so it's hard for me to really kind of put that into context, really. Glenn said, I have a chat there. Super Punker Man says Thor Ragnarok was amazing. Yeah, it's probably one of my favourites, mate, to be fair. Barry Clive says, I play a lot of X-Wing every Wednesday league. Great players, way better than me, but welcoming. The game got away from me, though, when the second edition came. I never upgraded. Still play first with my son. Yeah, I never upgraded my stuff, mate. I still got first edition stuff as well. And if I play it, it's just to push the ships around, really. I don't need to upgrade the rules. I never really bought that many ships to start with. Tony says, hello, mate. He says, being quiet as I was doing a bit of painting the newly tidy. I've played more games this week with real people than I have in the last 6 months. Even better, one of them was Deb's. Awesome, mate. I'm glad you're getting some games in. But yeah, but I think maybe that even if you take out board games and stuff, because I know you play like bits of board games as well. If you just talk about miniatures games, it's I think generally people play probably less than they think they do. Um, Phil Toller says, "Isn't Warcry more akin to Necromunda than Kill Team in reality?" Nah, not at all, mate. Kill Team Necromunda is um, much more kind of granular and gritty, and yes, it's narrative, but it's a lot more complex. Um, Warcry still has all of the AOS factions in it, even though it's set in like a different part of the AOS, kind of just outside of the all points. Um, it's not like completely different factions. Where Kill Team you still use Space Marines and Chaos Space Marines and all that kind of stuff. Warcry you can still use Stormcast Eternals and you can still use Zeech and all that kind of stuff as well. Where Necromunda is completely different warbands, if you like. It's different, what they called gangs. They're completely different gangs. Tybe, where are we up to? But Wars are in as well. Welcome back. He says, hope you had a good time off. I did, mate. Thank you very much. Tiberius says, Marvel movies are the same as the Harry Potter Mythical Beast movies. It doesn't matter if they don't break records, they're a guaranteed profit. Yeah, and I think that's... But they're a guaranteed profit because they're hugely popular. I mean, they plough hundreds of millions into the budgets for those films because they know they're going to make money. Phil says, my point about the Black Library was that in lockdown you can't play, but you can still read or listen to the millions of Black Library books. Yeah, you can, mate. You can, and it's part of the reason GW have done well. But it's not like Black Library has exploded during lockdown. I'm sure they've probably sold more than they normally did, but the miniature side of things has sold more than kind of was anticipated. Bearing in mind, nothing new was coming out. They weren't manufacturing stuff, so there was limited stock available anywhere. They massively kind of did better than they expected. Peter saying there, I really wonder how many people did the second edition upgrade for X-Wing. I think people that played it competitively and wanted to stick with it definitely did. I think there'll be a lot of people who were scared off X-Wing because it had grown arms and legs and it wasn't easy to get into. And I think they'll have just started with second edition X-Wing. But for people that played really casually, just flying a few ships around now and again, there was no reason for me to upgrade, basically. It would have cost me too much money to really not make a huge difference. Phil says, but Warcry didn't have the AOS factions in it. It just had its own factions. No, Warcry only didn't have the AOS factions in it for about 3 or 4 weeks, mate. The card packs came out really quickly, and it had the Stormcast. I can't even remember now. Orcs came out, like the what they called. Yeah, Orcs. I forget what the other stuff was, but there was about 9 different factions all came out from AOS very, very quickly after launch. They weren't in the original book, but I'm pretty sure they were always meant to be in the game. And it definitely wasn't like pressure from the player base, mate. I think they were they came out too fast for that. Glenn says, what game release are you most looking forward to that we know about in the run up to Christmas? To be honest, mate, I don't really know much that's coming out. Everything's all over the place now. It's kind of hard to know what's penciled in and what's coming this year and what's coming next year. I can't even think of anything that's like a big release. Like 9th edition seemed to kind of kill everything else off at the minute. But I don't even think I know what's coming out, mate. Tony's saying I usually play once or twice, sometimes even 3 times a week at Leodis in normal times. Obviously, it helps that it's an 8-minute drive. Yeah, and I think you're obviously somebody that has potentially a bit more time on their hands, and you've got somewhere local to play, and that's where you and like your gaming friends meet up. But I think in general you're probably a smaller minority of the overall hobbyists, if you like. Super Punkerman says, since Fantasy Flight would announce a new wave months before, you could even pre-order, and then you still had to wait weeks until you could get your order after the pre-order shipped. Yeah, I don't know why they do it, mate, but they always seem to kind of underestimate just how many to have. I mean, it's the Star Wars Legion, the second, the Clone Wars box is a prime example of that, basically. Where are we up to here? Tiberius is saying Black Library was on a humble bundle for a month or so. Maybe they get some commercial exposure. Yeah, I think I bought a load of Black Library stuff on a humble bundle ages ago as well. I still haven't read it, to be fair. But yeah, they tend to come around every now and again. VJ saying more Bandai figures. GW smashing that license. I think, to be fair, VG, I think like licensing stuff is a big growth area for them. I think whilst things are growing on the miniature side and the gaming side, the licensing arm of GW is going into overdrive now. That's why we're seeing all of the animated stuff getting made. The Netflix or the Amazon TV show that was talked about a little while ago. We're seeing the Bandai stuff coming out as well. The Funko Pops not too long ago. I think we'll see more and more stuff. At the point now, and obviously all the new video games as well, at the point now where GW are becoming quite well known, and Warhammer is becoming quite well known, they're spreading it wider and wider out really into kind of more mainstream culture. And I think that'll have a knock-on effect that either people will fall in love with the video games, they'll fall in love with the animated TV series and stuff. They might never buy the miniatures, but the whole GW pot basically gets bigger because of it. Where are we up to? Yeah, Andrew Fairbanks is saying Stormcast, Vanguard, Daughters, Idneth, Deepkin, Gits, Iron Jaws what I was trying to remember. Bone Splitters, Nighthorn, Fascinated Course, and Legion of Nagash. Yeah, they're the original ones, mate. Yeah. Dirk is saying now I might be in again. We hated what they did with Venom, which should have been an R. I quite like the Venom film actually. It's just came on Netflix this week. John Essel says looking forward to the Match Sedan and the Spectre for Dead Zone. I've ordered it already. No idea what the rules are, but look awesome. Yeah, they are nice models, mate. VJ is saying never understood the whole pop vinyl thing, so guess I'm not a target market. Yeah, but they're hugely popular, mate. Hugely popular. Lord Maiden saying, look at how many video games got announced recently. Yeah, loads, mate. There's the new, what is it that's coming out? There's the Necromunda video game that's coming. There's the new, is there an EOS game coming, did I see, as well? Which is a bit like Dawn of War. They're obviously Blood Bowl 3 or Blood Bowl 4, whatever the hell it is. Yeah, loads. And VG saying licensing will probably be their biggest growth area now. Dave saying the Necromunda cards sold out in 20 minutes. I only found the Ogrun cards in the shop. The supply side GW guy that plans the cards quantities needs to explain him or herself. I think am I right in thinking that you don't need them to play the game, but they're just useful? It's a little bit like the cards in Warcry, to be fair. What they do is they then put them into like an annual at the end of the year or something, don't they? So, I don't know, mate. I don't know why they do that kind of stuff. There must be a reason why they either underestimate them constantly or they're always intended to be kind of like limited numbers. Super Punker Man says John Constantine is one of the only DC characters I like. I'm much more into DC stuff than I am Marvel, I must admit. I'm much more kind of like Batman, Joker, Superman stuff. But yeah, Constantine's a good character. Sadly, the Keanu Reeves film wasn't great. It was good, but it wasn't great. And the Constantine TV series was awful. It's the Hellblazer comics which he was in were much more gritty than that. David Delaney said, I hope GW get the guy. Well, we've just been doing that one. Oh, did they start his mini series to do something for them? To be honest, mate, I think he's making enough money from his Patreon stuff to not worry about it. VJ saying they pretty much have complete market saturation in the tabletop gaming field with such well-developed background material. Licensing is a no-brainer. Yeah, and I think they've done it the right way. They haven't tried to force it. It's almost like that they've created a market for it, and now they're going down that route. Lord Maiden says it's a universe that kind of unique. Look at when Tyranids came out, and then Aliens, and people were interested in Tyranids because of that film. I think that Alien film definitely came out before Tyranids, mate. I mean, the original Alien film came out in like 1978 or something like that. Warhammer 40k has basically pretty much stolen all of its ideas from other places. If you look at it, I mean, like Necrons are essentially kind of like Terminators, basically. They're space kind of space skeletons, really. And there's definitely some like some Terminator influence in there. It's same with Tyranids, really, from an Alien point of view. I mean, Aliens, like I said, was around from like 78, I think it was the original one. So yeah, that's but they've built that and piggybacked on that kind of stuff. They've done a good job of it. Phil says, I love the Constantine TV series so much better than the Swamp Thing. Swamp Thing was awful. Constantine was slightly better, but still not great. I really enjoyed reading the Harry Dresden books, and the Dresden Files TV series was a real disappointment as well. And I quite like the Dresden Files books. Yeah, Andrew's saying Necrons are space tomb kings, or they're space tomb kings that look like Terminators. And Glenn saying, I wouldn't worry about the cards. I was trying to collect the card packs for Blood Bowl. A lot of those cards would be obsolete. Better off getting the dice. And Peter says, I just don't see the point of upgrading, but then again, I never play anything but casual. Yeah. Arnold saying, good night all. Need to grab some SEDs. Thanks, Andy. Today was a good one. Yeah, sorry, folks, we didn't have a more specific topic tonight, but yeah, just getting back from the being away last week. I've not really had a chance to prep stuff, and like I say, I've been feeling a bit off colour today as well. But yeah, we'll be back on with the main topics next week. Vijay saying, yeah, GW follow the age all saying, good artist borrow, great artist steal. Yes, mate. I mean, to be fair, if you see what's gone on through DC and Marvel over the years, they've stolen from each other backwards and forwards as well. Phil Toller says, is the Dresden Files TV series from the 90s or whenever? Or if so, I watched that on Amazon Prime recently. Yeah, I don't know if it was 90s, mate. It might have been the early 2000s, but it's not new. It's an older one. And Bryce says, Tyranids to me seem like they were lifted from the Robert Heinlein book Starship Troopers. Yeah, I think Starship Troopers was a big influence on 40K as well. The original book, not the movie. But yeah, there's a lot of that kind of stuff, like kind of stealing with pride, if you like. Dirk's saying a 40K video game with the XCOM mechanics would be so cool. I've never played any of the XCOM games. I'm trying to remember, there was one game that was meant to be a 40K game, and they didn't get the license for it, and it ended up going off and doing something else. I can't remember what it was now. But I mean, even if you look at things like Gears of War are kind of is got to be influenced by kind of Space Marines, the kind of the oversize of the armor and the oversize of the weapons, and the kind of swarm of enemies. It's a very much kind of it's definitely kind of inspired by that type of stuff. Vijay says he's watching and absolutely loving Lovecraft Country at the moment. I've not even heard of that, mate. Starcraft, that's the one, mate. I knew it was something, I couldn't remember what it was. And Ian says Chaos Gate is close to XCOM style. Well, folks, we're at 10:30 now. I'm going to call it a night now, while I'm still feeling a little bit of energy. But yeah, we'll be back on Wednesday for the hobby hangout. I think we will anyway. Leave that one with me. But yeah, I should have some more stuff coming up this week. I've started recording my review for God Tier, which is a game by Steamforged Games. So I've been playing multiple games of that to make sure I've got a really balanced view, because the starter box comes with kind of 2 teams in it. You can play up to 3 teams per side. So I've been making sure I've had enough games and Steamforged, to be fair, sent me enough stuff to play 3 versus 3. So I've been making sure that I've got a balanced opinion over the whole thing, and not just kind of an intro game and then getting a quick review up there. So that should, all being well, should be up this week. But yeah, we'll see each other in the next live stream. Thanks very much for coming in. Remember, if you do want to support the channel, Christian's just sharing the link there for the Patreon. Please, folks, please do consider that. It's that $2 a month makes a huge difference to kind of keeping the lights on here, keeping everything running into the future. And for that $2, you get access to the private Discord as well. And I think other people there will say that sometimes is that $2 a month is worth it just for the Discord access. Never mind the support of me as well. So yeah, please do check it out. But do it tomorrow. Don't do it today. Do it tomorrow. So take care, folks, and I will see you in the next videos. Thanks for watching my video. I hope that you really enjoyed it. And if you did, why not consider clicking on the suggested video below to see more of the work that I've done. If you'd like to support the long-term sustainability of this channel, why not consider checking out my Patreon, where you can pledge and support from as little as $2 a month. And there is lots of different tiers and bonuses, which will give you access to a private Discord server. It will give you free t-shirts, free mugs, a podcast every month, and a number of other things, including getting your name at the end of every video, like these awesome folks who already support me now.